It was premeditated that I was actually going to party with drugs and alcohol.
Because I know if I do get high, I'm going to kill myself.
I remember going to a relative's house. Basically, I was going in to get pot, which is drugs as well.
Dwight Gooden absolutely hated some players during his baseball career. The conflict that defined him most erupted on August 9th, 1990, when things got violent during a game against the Philadelphia Phillies. Earlier that day, Gooden had hit two Phillies batters, Herr and Dickie Thon. When Phillies pitcher Pat Combs hit Gooden in the knee with a pitch, Gooden charged the mound immediately. This started a massive fight that lasted 20 minutes. 3 Mets players and 4 Phillies got thrown out of the game. But the real anger came from what happened during that brawl. While Gooden fought with Combs, Phillies catcher Darren Daulton kept punching Gooden in the back of the head. This was seen as crossing a line. Charging the mound is part of baseball, but hitting someone from behind over and over is not. Darryl Strawberry, who played with Gooden, called it a sucker punch and promised revenge. He said he would not forget what Daulton did. The league did almost nothing about it. National League President Bill White handed out small fines. Daulton, Strawberry, and Mets player Timothy Teufel each got fined $1,000. That was basically nothing for professional players. Hall of Fame pitcher Don Drysdale said the fines were like blowing cotton because players made so much money. Now that you know about the fight, drop a comment below. Which player do you think crossed the biggest line during that wild brawl? Also, hit that subscribe button for more baseball history. The weak response from the league meant the hatred kept going. Players felt they had to handle things themselves. This created a cycle where anger just grew stronger over time. The conflict with Daulton was just one part of Gooden's story. His relationship with teammate Darryl Strawberry was even more complicated. Both players became stars at the same time. They made their first All-Star game together in 1984. They helped the New York Mets win the 1986 World Series. Gooden had won the Cy Young Award in 1985 with a 24-4 record and a 1.53 ERA. Strawberry finished as MVP runner-up in 1988 with 39 home runs. Their careers rose together, but they also fell together. Both struggled with addiction and personal problems. Their legacies became tied together forever. Neither got enough votes to stay on the Baseball Hall of Fame ballot their first year. They both now rely on the memories of 1986 to stay relevant. This forces them to work together on documentaries and public appearances, even though they have deep personal problems with each other. Instead of healing, those reunions just reopen old wounds. Strawberry made things worse by talking about their past publicly. In 2014, he confirmed a shocking story from Gooden's 1999 book. Gooden had written that teammate Kevin Mitchell decapitated his girlfriend's cat during a fit of rage. Gooden claimed he saw Mitchell take a knife and cut the cat's head off clean. Mitchell always denied this story, but Strawberry said the story was accurate. He said Mitchell was a different type of guy who was involved with gangs. Strawberry explained that Mitchell probably killed the cat because he thought the girlfriend was acting crazy. By confirming this story while promoting his own book, Strawberry made sure Gooden's painful past stayed in the news. This made Gooden bitter. He felt like Strawberry was using their shared trauma to make money and sell books. The business of telling their story keeps forcing them back together, which makes their relationship even worse. The problem between Gooden and Strawberry goes beyond just disagreements. They represent something bigger in baseball history. Two gifted athletes who had everything going for them watched it all slip away. The 1986 Mets team was supposed to be a dynasty. They won 108 games that season. With Gooden pitching and Strawberry hitting, they should have won multiple championships. But the party culture destroyed that potential. Both players have admitted to using drugs during their playing days. The lifestyle caught up with them fast. By the early 1990s, both were dealing with suspensions and rehab stints. Their talent was undeniable, but their choices limited what they could achieve. This shared failure created resentment between them. Each one sees the other as a reminder of what went wrong. When they appear together now, they are selling a story of what could have been. That story is profitable, but it is also painful. Every interview and documentary forces them to relive their mistakes. The strange part is how the public loves their story. Fans are fascinated by rise and fall narratives. Gooden and Strawberry became more famous for their problems than for their achievements. This creates pressure to keep talking about the past. Media companies pay them to tell these stories. Book publishers want their memoirs. Documentary filmmakers want their cooperation, so they keep doing it, even though it hurts. The financial reality of their post-baseball lives means they cannot escape each other. They need the money that comes from being part of the 1986 Mets legend. But that legend is now more about partying and addiction than about winning. This keeps them trapped in a cycle. They reunite, old wounds reopen. They fight publicly, then they reunite again. The cycle never ends because the financial incentive never ends. Kevin Mitchell played as a utility player on the 1986 Mets championship team. The team clubhouse was known for being wild and out of control. People called them the Scum Bunch. Mitchell had a reputation for violence. He grew up in a tough neighborhood and allegedly had connections to street gangs. He had problems with the IRS and got arrested multiple times over the years. After the 1986 World Series, the Mets traded Mitchell to the Padres. Reports said the team thought he was a bad influence on young stars like Gooden and Strawberry. This decision showed that the organization knew something toxic was happening. Mitchell became a symbol of everything wrong with that clubhouse culture. The cat story, whether true or not, helped Gooden explain how destructive his environment was. It shifted some blame away from Gooden himself and onto the chaos around him. Mitchell's later history of violence, including arrest for assaulting his father and attacking someone on a golf course, made the story seem more believable to many people. For Gooden, the hatred toward Mitchell represented anger at the toxic culture that helped destroy his career. Mitchell went on to have success after leaving the Mets. He won the National League MVP award in 1989 while playing for the San Francisco Giants. He hit 47 home runs that year and drove in 125 runs. This success made the Mets' decision to trade him look questionable. Maybe he was not the problem after all. Maybe the entire organization was broken. Mitchell's success with another team suggested that getting away from the Mets culture actually helped him. Meanwhile, Gooden and Strawberry stayed with the Mets and continued to spiral downward. This creates another layer of resentment. Gooden might wonder what would have happened if he had been traded too. Would a fresh start have saved his career? These questions probably haunted him. Seeing Mitchell succeed while he struggled must have been painful. The cat story, true or not, became a way to explain why Mitchell was different. It made him into a villain. That narrative helped Gooden feel better about his own choices. The way the Mets organization handled the situation raises questions too. They knew the clubhouse was out of control. They saw young players getting into trouble, yet they did very little to fix the problem. Trading Mitchell away was not enough. The culture remained toxic. Management failed to protect their investment in Gooden and Strawberry. These were franchise players worth millions of dollars. The team should have provided better support systems. They should have enforced stricter rules. They should have created an environment where young players could thrive instead of self-destruct. The organization's failure made the players' struggles worse. Gooden was left to navigate fame, pressure, and addiction without proper guidance. The front office cared more about winning games than about player welfare. This neglect contributed to the chaos that defined those years. When Gooden looks back now, he probably feels let down by the people who were supposed to help him succeed. The conflicts with Timothy Teufel and other Mets clubhouse players are harder to understand. Teufel got fined for participating in the 1990 brawl, but he was actually defending Gooden, not attacking him. People who know Teufel say he is a gentleman and a respected baseball mind. So any real hatred toward him probably came from clubhouse problems related to Gooden's drug use. The 1986 Mets team had serious internal issues. Gooden has talked openly about his struggles with addiction, mental health problems, and public pressure. Some teammates might have judged him or enabled his problems. Others might have participated in the drug culture that hurt him. The anger toward these players is not about specific incidents. It is about feeling betrayed by the environment. These teammates represent the painful memory of his lost years. The hatred is really aimed at the whole team culture that let everything fall apart rather than at individual people. Baseball clubhouses can be complicated places. Players spend more time with teammates than with their own families during the season. Close relationships form quickly, but so do conflicts and divisions. The 1986 Mets had distinct groups within the team. Some players partied hard while others stayed focused on baseball. Some veterans enabled bad behavior while younger players got caught up in it. Gooden found himself surrounded by influences pulling him in different directions. Without strong leadership or personal maturity, he made poor choices. Looking back decades later, those choices created lasting bitterness. Teammates who should have helped him instead led him astray. Others who saw what was happening stayed silent. That silence felt like betrayal. The resentment Gooden feels towards certain clubhouse players comes from this sense of abandonment. He was drowning, and nobody threw him a lifeline. The New York media made everything worse too. New York is one of the toughest sports markets in the world. Every mistake gets magnified. Every controversy becomes front-page news. Gooden's problems were constantly in the tabloids. Reporters followed him everywhere. They wrote about his rehab stints, his failed drug tests, and his personal struggles. This constant attention added pressure that he could not handle. It also made his conflicts with other players more public. When Strawberry talked about the cat story or when the Daulton fight happened, the media coverage was intense. This publicity turned personal feuds into public spectacles. It made reconciliation harder because everything was documented and remembered. Years later, when people talk about Gooden, they remember the scandals as much as the strikeouts. The media's role in his downfall cannot be ignored. They profited from his pain while making his recovery more difficult. The bigger picture shows how fame can destroy young athletes. Gooden was not prepared for what happened to him. He went from being a teenager in the minor leagues to being the best pitcher in baseball almost overnight. That kind of success changes everything. Suddenly he had money, attention, and access to things that most 20-year-olds never experience. Add in the party culture of the 1980s Mets, and it was a recipe for disaster. Other young stars have faced similar challenges. Some survived and had long, successful careers. Others crashed and burned like Gooden did. The difference often comes down to support systems and personal choices. Gooden lacked both. His family was not equipped to help him navigate fame. The Mets organization failed him. His teammates led him into trouble instead of away from it, and his own choices made everything worse. This combination proved deadly to his career and nearly to his life. The comparison to other young phenoms is striking. Players like Ken Griffey Jr. and Alex Rodriguez also became stars as teenagers, but they had better support systems and made different choices. Griffey had a father who played in the major leagues and could guide him. Rodriguez had handlers and mentors who kept him focused. Gooden had none of that. His rapid rise meant nobody was prepared for his success. The Mets were thrilled to have a Cy Young winner at age 20, but they did not think about protecting him from the dangers that came with that success. The organization should have assigned someone to watch over him. They should have kept him away from the party crowd. They should have recognized the warning signs when his behavior started to change. Instead, they looked the other way as long as he kept winning games. This failure of leadership doomed Gooden before he ever had a chance to reach his full potential. The legacy Gooden left behind is complicated and painful. He finished his career with 194 wins and 2,293 strikeouts. Those are solid numbers, but nowhere near what they should have been. Based on his first few seasons, he was on pace to be one of the greatest pitchers ever. He could have won 300 games easily. He could have struck out 4,000 batters. He could have been a first-ballot Hall of Famer. Instead, his career ended prematurely and his potential was wasted. Fans who watched him in his prime still talk about what could have been. That phrase follows him everywhere. What could have been if he had stayed clean? What could have been if the Mets had protected him better? What could have been if his teammates had been better influences? All these conflicts were connected. They all came from the pressure and chaos that surrounded Gooden's life. He became a star too fast. He set a rookie record with 276 strikeouts in 1984 when he was only 19 years old. He won the Cy Young Award at age 20. He skipped normal development steps and went straight from Class A ball to the major leagues. This left him unprepared for fame and pressure. The spotlight was intense. He was the youngest all-star ever. Every struggle he had got magnified. His addiction issues became public. His conflicts with other players became news. The feuds with Daulton, Mitchell, Strawberry, and others were all symptoms of a bigger problem. His life was out of control, and these conflicts showed how badly things had gone wrong. Now at age 60, Gooden has found peace. He says he is a very grateful man who wants to help others. He is not embarrassed or ashamed of his life anymore. His daily goal is to find peace. He says all the ups and downs he went through shaped him into who he is today. The conflicts he had are now part of his journey. They are painful memories that help him measure how far he has come. His feuds with these players were really about his own internal struggles. They show how hard it was to survive the pressure and addiction that nearly destroyed him. Today, Gooden sees these conflicts as markers on his path to recovery. His career was not just about wins and losses. It was about the people and conflicts around him. These relationships defined him as much as his pitching did. If you found this story interesting, make sure to like this video and leave a comment. Which player's story surprised you the most? Let us know what you think about Gooden's complicated legacy and journey to redemption.